morning,
Okay.
and now we're on.
Okay. Hey, good afternoon. It's Thursday, September 3rd.
September 3rd, 20,
Yes,
2020.
2020, and it's
And
about
and
two
who are
months
you?
before the election. And um,
And introduce yourself to people who may not be
I'm
aware of
Phil
who you are.
Margot from the Tokens and from writing television and from recording records and from managing Robert Guillaume and from being at the White House several times and from I don't know. I did stuff.
And I'm Malcolm Berman from Coney Island.
Yes, I live in
Welcome.
Boynton Beach, so you
Well,
won't
the
go
thing I
far
wanted,
from me.
thing I wanted to start out with, which is amazing, which I put on my Facebook. This is a Labor Day weekend coming up. What
Yes.
the hell happened to the summertime?
Well, the summertime was eaten up by a virus, and um, and I think the wintertime will be too.
But the way the thing went,
But it won't matter if after November 3rd. If I don't think we'll know November 3rd with the election results, but you know that this president is going to do everything he can to not leave office because if he once he's a civilian, he can go to jail a dozen times,
he will go to
and
jail.
so could all of his people, and also AG Barr, who should go to jail right now because he's not. See, the president, you can't indict a sitting president, but you can indict a sitting AG, and he should be indicted for being an accessory to murder
Did
and
you see
being
the
accessory to felonies. And the president said you could vote twice. Once you should vote and mail it in, which he says mail-in ballots doesn't work, but he mails his ballots in. And then he says, then vote anyway again, just in case.
right? Yeah,
And,
he said that yesterday in North
and,
Carolina.
and to attempt to vote a second time is a felony. It's just simply a felony. He told the state of North
North
Carolina
Carolina.
to to commit a felony. I mean, what the fuck do they need? What do they need? Is that an impeachable offense? Let's impeach him. I don't care if we impeach him. If God forbid Ruth Bader Ginsburg can't make it to the Supreme Court for whatever reason, and they have to replace her. They would replace her a minute before the new president is sworn in. They wouldn't hesitate after they said, "Oh, you can't do it with Obama because it's a whole year."
It's an election year.
Year. So these guys are absolutely. I don't see how people don't get it. I don't know what the 40% of people see in him that I don't see. I see a flat-out criminal surrounded by flat-out criminals, being aided and abetted by flat-out criminals in the Senate and in his cabinet and his attorney general, and and then he says, you could vote twice.
Right.
I mean, I don't know what to say anymore. I mean, what do you do with that? And
Well,
and they withheld a statement that the intelligence found that Russia was definitely trying to denigrate Biden's health, so he would lose the election, so Trump would win. Because of course they have a slave, and what they have is they have an agent. He's an
right.
agent, Trump. He's a fucking an operative. He's there. He's an operative within the American government.
Well, he
And
said the exact same thing that the Russians once said about Biden's health.
well, yeah,
If you saw what supposedly the intelligence said that the Russians wanted and what Trump said were exactly the same.
yes, well, because they talk to each other.
Right.
I mean, you don't think that he's
Are you hitting something with your computer? Because I hear like a sound coming out.
well,
Like, are you hitting something with the computer on the computer?
not now.
No, no, okay. Because I hear like some sort of interference. No, now it's okay.
Okay. Anyway, so I wrote a list of pros and cons
Go for it.
regarding regarding the POTUS swipe. Okay. He's pro racism. He's pro dictatorships. He's pro hypocrisy. He's pro criminality. He's pro-white nationalists. He's pro-rigging elections. He's pro-Ku Klux Klan. Cons, that's just some of the pros. I don't want to. Cons, his whole life is a con.
Did,
That's
did,
my
did you hear Biden today? Did you hear Biden today in
he's
Kenosha?
Yeah.
I mean, he was right. He said you can't. He thought they did away with hate, but hate was hiding, and it was
Yes.
allowed to come out because Trump promoted it.
Yes, and you know, as I said, as I told you, I don't know if I said it on our little podcast here, but when I started working with Robert Guillaume played Benson on Soap, and then he played Benson on Benson.
Right.
And I was his manager during the time. Here, I'm going to just show you some stuff. Well, a little show and tell. This is my little bathroom. But see, here's
I see your shower. Yeah.
That's a picture of Robert and Gary Coleman in a movie. Okay, you see it.
Yeah, I see them.
And he played, yeah, and we did see this. These are some of the movies I produced actually. This Wife for Hire with Pam Dorber and Ann Gillian and Robert Klein and I don't know. Anyway, so when I first came with Robert in 1978, and you know we talked very frankly, you know, because he liked my honesty and how straight I was. And we talked about race, and I said, "Oh well, that's got a long way. It's all going to be all right. You know, it's going to straighten out soon." And we made great progress in the 60s and 70s and 80s, whatever. No, this was the 70s and the 60s. And he just shook his head and said, "No, close." I said, "What do you mean?" He said, "We're not even close." And then when Obama became president, this was years later. I said, "Well, how about now?" He said, "No." He said, "Racism is still part of this country, deep, deep down."
Well, I'm just wondering now, you know, this week, whether there seems to be more blacks killed by police than ever before, or it's just being reported now. And otherwise, and before they were killed just as frequently, but it wasn't reported and we didn't know. Like I was reading this article in the LA Times about Dijon Kinsley, who was riding his bike, and the police wanted to stop him for he did something illegally.
Well, you know what? You're not wrong. You know what the difference is?
Talk to me. Yep.
Video. The cops have to wear cameras in a lot of places, and also everyone has a video. They walk around with a recording studio, and when shit happens, they shoot it. So the cops, years back, they just swept it under the rug. They hid it. There really is, and believe me, I walked the streets in uniform for 3 years with a gun, and worked with police officers undercover, okay, in New York. So I know that most of them are diligent men, and now women. Women weren't part of it when I was involved. Women weren't becoming police officers yet. This was in the late 60s. But there were diligent men who cared about getting the bad guys. That was big, getting the bad guys. And there are, even in Dragnet, when, you know, if you watch Dragnet with Jack Webb, who played Sergeant Joe Friday, I'm not talking about the movie with Dan Aykroyd.
Just the facts, man, just the facts.
Yeah, but also he did one show about bad policing. You know, you figured a guy like that was so gung-ho and so with the police, and the police were, they adored him, you know, because he showed them in the best light.
Right.
Well, I try to show myself in the best light, but there are some dark corners, you know. There are. Everyone has dark corners. And the police department has some dark corners. Some guys become police officers for the power. See, I didn't I didn't do that in New York for the power of being wearing a uniform and carrying a badge. I did it for I wanted to see what it was like. I wanted to see what it was like to be a police officer, to have the responsibility of somebody's safety, you know, to have the responsibility of breaking up a fight, to have the responsibility of making sure the streets are safe. That's their job. And that's what the job of our president is. His responsibility is to keep us safe. And he's failed. He's failed. And the police, when somebody goes bad and shoots somebody in the back 7 times, I don't care what the police union says. I don't care what the captain of the said. The police chief said that there were people out when they shouldn't have been out. Okay, so fine them. This guy didn't have to shoot 2 and kill 2 and wound 1 because he was a vigilante. He was 17 years old. He's not even a grown up.
Well, he wasn't supposed to be there. He crossed over state lines to protect property. Yeah. What the hell are you talking about, crossing over state lines?
He was charged with murder.
Yeah.
And then the president of the United States publicly defended him.
Well, he said it was I did it in self-defense.
And it was on film. It was on film. Hello. Yeah. No, he didn't do it. He just opened fire on these people because they were protesting. No one threatened him. No one came near him. He just shot them.
They were chasing him to try to. There was some were chasing him to take his gun away. That's that seems to be apparent.
Well, you know what? That's what he was doing, carrying that gun and being underage was a felony.
Illegal. Yeah.
And anybody can make a citizen's arrest for a felony. Do you know that?
Yeah.
You can arrest somebody for a felony. You can't for a misdemeanor, but you can for a felony.
But the thing is, the difference
between a felony, and they weren't threatening his life; they were chasing him. There was no deadly force against him.
But the big difference was very obvious this week when Trump went to Kenosha, and today Biden is in Kenosha. And when Trump was there, he saw the police. He didn't say anything about the killing.
No, he's a creep.
It was he wanted to praise the police for great work. He said nothing about Jacob Blake being killed, being murdered.
I'll tell everybody out there.
Where Biden came today, and he was talking about, let's see what we could do to fix a situation. It shouldn't be happening, and let's see if we get the police and protesters and everybody. Let's find a solution. Trump's solution is let's bring the National Guard, kill the mothers.
Well, you see,
that will fix it up.
Democrats are like an American family, okay? Every single family is dysfunctional to a certain extent, right? You argue, you fight, your kids want to do this, they want to do that, you argue, you come to a conclusion and you act on it. Mm-hmm. That's what Democrats do. They talk to each other. They have different views, but their views are how to make life better for Americans. How do we get them health care? How do we get them Social Security? How do we get them? How do we get them to something to keep them going until this pandemic is over? The Democrats came up with the HEROES Act in almost immediately and presented it to the Senate, which was they went for it, but then the second one they didn't go for.
Well, they haven't gotten anything yet. The second one.
So. That's what Democrats. Republicans are Sieg Heil. The Fuhrer. It's what it is. All of them.
I don't think Republicans. This administration is, and the people who follow this administration.
Excuse me. There are 40% of this country are Republicans, and they're going Sieg Heil, just like those things in front of the Reichstag. Yeah. Sieg Heil. Trump is right. Fuck everyone. We want judges, we don't want abortion, and we don't give a shit if 2 million people die. Let's have herd immunity. Let's let everybody get the virus, and then you'll see what happens. Well, if that would have happened, then the plague was that the bubonic plague killed 75 million people. Okay, the world only had 400 million people at the time. It killed almost a quarter of the population of the world. That would mean in today's time, it would kill, what is 7 billion people in the world?
Yeah, I don't know how many people in the world, but
So
we keep
let's
on
say it
multiplying.
would kill 1.5 billion people.
We,
A
we keep we
billion
keep
and a half people. What
we
the
keep
fuck
on.
would we do with 1.5 billion dead bodies? It's almost impossible to calculate. And in the United States, herd immunity, 2 million people would die. 2 million fucking people would die. And this guy, idiot, this fucking moron Atlas says it. Yeah, well, you have to do that. No, you don't. Italy is not. Other countries are doing it without that. How did they even bring this shit up?
Well, what I'm worried about is he has now that the new thing that the CDC sent to the governors about they have to have by November 1 they have to be ready to give mass inoculations. The vaccine is coming. That's 60 days. I don't know who's going to take that vaccine. I'm not. My family's not.
It's all done, and 54% of the people were negative about the idea of taking a vaccine. All right, thinking that it's not.
Well, it's interesting. It's also 2 days before the election. Do you think it has any connection?
Everything he's doing is to get reelected, because if he doesn't, he goes to jail.
Yeah, we just have a little visitor that came in. I don't know if you heard that. But anyway, yeah, it happened to be 2 days.
He's going to have an orange suit, and he's going to have a girlfriend in the prison.
Well, I know what he's doing now is ensuring that whatever happens in the election, even if Biden wins by a mass majority, there's going to be confusion.
Yes.
There's going to be confusion because he's going to claim, the mail-in ballots are fake. They were forged.
There's no proof.
I know. Did you see Bill Barr on
yesterday
on TV with Walt Blitzer? Walt Blitzer.
Disgusting piece of shit. He ought to be ashamed of himself to even be. He's not an American. He's not an American. He doesn't give a damn about the country. They're all subservient to Trump. I don't know what he's got on them. I don't know why they follow him. Is it money that they're going to give him all $1 billion after the, if they follow him, they'll give him $1 billion? Is that what it is?
Well, I don't think he has $1 billion, so.
No, but he'll steal it. I mean, the bottom line, he'll get it from Putin. Well, Putin doesn't have it either, really. Well, Putin does have it. Putin's probably the wealthiest man in the world. Of course, all the oil money.
He'll get it from the chairman of in China.
I think that if he does win another term, another 4 years, if he does win, then there will be a revolution in this country, a real revolution, and Russia will come in and take it over.
Well, I'm afraid also if he loses, there's going to be a revolution because all his followers, the white nationalists, are armed to the teeth.
Yeah, but you see, if he loses, the government is duty bound to protect the people. Each governor can call in the National Guard.
National Guard.
Protect everybody. The governors have the right to call National Guard, not the president.
Yeah.
So and the armed forces of the United States, if he loses, once he loses, on January 20th and a new president is sworn in, he's not the president anymore. He can't do anything. He can refuse to leave the White House, but they can go in and get him.
Yeah.
And if he fights the election and it goes to court and nothing is decided, then Nancy Pelosi becomes president.
Yeah, I don't know if there becomes an interim president.
Nancy Pelosi becomes president. She's the third. She's in the line. It's the president, vice president, and speaker of the House. She becomes president on January 20th if no winner is declared.
Well, that's another issue that came up with her going to the beauty parlor and having, and you have all these people in the administration.
How do these people? Excuse me. How do these people say anything when you see what they're doing?
Right.
He goes to the beauty parlor and doesn't wear a mask. Trump has 2,000 people in front of his face. And already the people that were in where were they, in South Carolina, Charleston, they're already starting to come up with the virus. And this priest who had these services recently, because he said there's no.
There's something interfering with the sound of your. I think it's in your end, because when you're talking, I get like static.
I don't know.
You're not moving. You say you're not moving the computer at all?
No.
Okay.
Well, it's on my lap, so if I'm,
Well,
you get static now? Are you getting static now?
Yeah, now I'm getting shaking.
Okay. All right.
Next time we'll have to have a table.
I didn't get a chance to move my desk over. But we're in a lot of trouble. I mean, all the polls show that Biden should win the election. All of them. He's 8 points ahead in Wisconsin. And he's ahead in Arizona.
Yeah, he should.
And he's ahead in North Carolina. And if he picks up those four and Colorado, I mean, if he picks up those states, he wins. You know.
But my memory, I remember when Hillary. Oh, she's ahead. There's no way it's not going to be a close election. And the next day you find out.
No one knew how. See, I think. Well, first of all, James Comey came out with that letter a week and a half before the election, which was devastating, because it didn't say anything, but it put fear in the minds of people that already were concerned, because it turned out that there was no thing that Benghazi was bullshit and the emails was bullshit. There's nothing. If they had something, don't you think they would have came at her with something? Yeah, they didn't have anything.
There is no there.
They didn't have anything. So no, I'm not comfortable. He's ahead in the polls. I'm not comfortable at all. I think anything can happen. I think he could even cancel the election. I still think if he gets wrecked in the debate that he has, and I believe he will, because what can he say? He can say shit until somebody says, "What the fuck are you talking about?" Then he can't answer that, and he leaves the stage.
Yeah, well, I don't know if it's true or not, but they said that Biden wants a fact check at the debate.
Fact check as he goes.
Yeah.
But the point is that the reporters, once you say, well, what did you say about voting twice? Isn't that a felony? And he would leave. He says, "You're nasty," and he would walk away. You see?
But funny, I mean, he's calling.
Look at his interview we had recently with who was it? With Chris Wallace? Who was it?
Chris Wallace.
No, that wasn't Chris Wallace. It was somebody else.
Laura Ingraham did the recent one.
He couldn't even handle a fucking interview with Laura Ingraham, who's practically whatever.
Right.
I mean, he couldn't even handle that, and she couldn't handle it. So could you imagine if he says one of his bullshit lies and then they ask Biden another question, and Biden says, "Yeah, I'll answer that in a minute. But who the fuck do you think you're talking about?" I mean, he'll go at Trump, and I believe Kamala Harris will devastate Pence.
Oh, that should be it.
Let's make America great again. Let's make America great again. You mean we made it great last time? It's great now?
It's great now.
It's great. There's a pandemic, racial strife, global warming is running rampant. There's nothing being done. The public is not being taken care of. The president is not protecting anybody. None of the major issues are being attended to. And he's yelling about law and order because a couple of his henchmen create problems, or people throwing soup cans, or people are flying in airplanes to cities to cause trouble.
Oh, men in black uniform, out of Washington, because a friend of his told him. Who's a friend? Where they go? I don't know.
That's how we got the whole thing. I've heard. It's
a conspiracy. It's a conspiracy theory.
So I mean, I'm deathly afraid about this country's future. Deathly afraid.
Well, speaking about global warming, Have you seen the weather reports for this weekend for
Yeah,
Labor Day?
yeah.
106,
Jesus is gonna have to
110 in
come
certain
down.
areas.
Jesus is gonna have to come down and say, "What the, you know, this is not what I had in mind." I
Well,
have
I
you love one another, you take care of one another, you watch over one another. And he never even said, "Follow me." It was the two publicity guys, Peter and Paul, that did all that bullshit. He just said, "Hey, I'm a rabbi from Nazareth. I'm a little different than the other rabbis are. I think you should love each other and take care of each other. You know, because in olden times the Jewish religion was no walk through the daisies. You know, they believed in sacrifice. They believed in all kinds of stupid shit."
yeah, well,
He
not
said,
being
"No, back off."
religious.
Right? He said, "Back off."
Well,
Take it.
not being religious. If you follow just the teachings of Jesus versus, not saying he's the Son of God, but this is teaching. He was a great man
Yes,
as an individual.
according to what they say, we don't know what the truth is because we weren't there, and we don't know what was written about him. We don't know. One of the things I have a big bugaboo about is I'm Jewish, right? I'm Jewish. How did we get here? How did we survive all the crap we survived? Even if Egypt never happened, in Spain, the Inquisitions, in Germany, all of that, and we managed, and the diaspora, we were sent all over the world, and yet we managed to come up with things like people like Einstein and people, Nobel prizes and science and all of that and education and all that amazing shit. And you know what? The Bible doesn't tell you anything about that. We don't know what was real. We know the Masada was real because we were there. I saw it. I sat it. I
Uh,
knew.
Have you
The
seen
Western
Fiddler on
Wall is real. But the world does not know anything about us. They don't
the?
know. How did we do this?
Have you seen Fiddler on the Roof?
Yes, of course.
Okay, the thing is, which I think sums up why Judaism has survived, it's when Tavia sings "If I Was a Rich Man." I don't know if you remember that song, but
Yes, of course.
if he's a rich man, he would buy everything for his wife to make her happy to do this. But what would he do for himself? Would he live in luxury, buy things for him? No. What he would have enough money so he wouldn't have to work and could go to the temple and study the Torah and the
I
Talmud
build a
and
big
become a
fine
wise man.
house. I build a big fine house with
Yeah,
shutters.
but that's for his wife.
No, well,
For him, he wanted to study the
yes,
Talmud and the Torah,
right. He was
so
trying to
he would be
study.
a wise man.
Yes,
Judaism stresses education
yes.
above money, above finance.
But then you go to the extremes of Judaism. You go to the extremely orthodox, and they don't like me either. You know what I mean? They have no room for me. What I do is unconscionable to them. That I don't keep the Sabbath, that I don't wear payas, that I don't wear that silly black hat. You know, I mean, you know, the moderation. The greatest saying, wherever it is moderation. You got to be in the center. You can't be too right or too left. You have to be reasonable. You have to compromise. I'll tell you one thing that broke my heart. Tom Seaver passed away.
I was going to talk about that.
I didn't know he was ill.
Yeah, I know he had dementia and it was started
You
by
look at
something with Lyme disease.
he was a jolly major leaguer. He was jolly, and he was great.
Well,
I didn't realize how many records that he set as a pitcher. 300 games, 3,000 strikeouts, and whatever.
it's only him. It's only him
Only
and Walter
Walter
Johnson.
Johnson. Only Walter
Him
Johnson.
and Walter
Best.
Johnson. You're reading the LA Times, but the
Yes.
thing is,
I'm sorry.
with Tom Seaver, I was a Brooklyn Dodger fan, probably you also.
Yes.
And when they left New York, they broke my heart. I
Broke
mean,
my heart.
literally.
And I
Then
hated
when
them.
the Mets came in '62, I became a big Met fan. But the Mets
Right.
were horrible. I still was a Met fan. I think in '62 when they first
Amazing.
came in, they lost like 110 games.
Yeah, they called it. Casey Stengel called them the Amazing.
Yeah, yeah. It's does any he said, does anyone know how to play ball over here?
Right.
I used to love the shots that they would catch in the dugout on TV with Casey sleeping in the mid innings, but they were horrible. And the year before, 1968, they were 9 out of 10 places.
Right.
And 1960, 68, 69,
But
they won the World Series.
then the magic happened.
It was
Well,
amazing.
because you know why? Because they got pitching.
Yeah. But,
Seaver, Kuzman, Gentry,
Gary
and
Gentry.
Ryan. And
But
Ryan.
I didn't realize that either. That year, within that year, Mets won the World Series, Jets won the Super Bowl,
Knicks.
and the Knicks won the championship.
Yes.
What a great time to be in New York.
Oh, yeah, it was great.
And I was a sports fan.
In 1968 was one of the worst years this world ever had. In terms of, we lost Martin Luther King, we lost Bobby Kennedy.
Yeah.
You know, we had the horrible Democratic thing, the fires in Chicago. You know,
Well, that was a police riot in Chicago.
Yeah, it was racial strife back then too. But I remember when I was in 1969, I had gone to Puerto Rico for vacation with my family, the whole group, all the guys in the group went. And we were there for about 2-3 weeks. And I didn't pay attention to anything except I would casually look at the newspaper, and every day it said Mets win. Every day they were winning games, winning and winning. I said, holy shit, what's going on? I didn't look at the standings. When I got back, they were in first place. The Mets in first place.
The amazing Mets.
And then they took Atlanta, bam, 4 games, sweep, bam. And then, you know, they won the World Series in 5 games.
Yeah, that goes. It seems that
and it was Gil Hodges who was the manager too.
Right. Well, as a matter of fact, that night I went with a few friends, and Gil Hodges lived on Bedford Avenue in Brooklyn. And we went over to his house, and there was probably like a few hundred people at his house. And when he came driving up, he was getting an ovation.
Oh, that's nice.
And he's not in the Hall of Fame yet. He's the only one of the old Brooklyn Dodgers that didn't make the Hall of Fame.
No, a lot of them didn't get in. Furillo never got in.
No, but I mean, like Snyder did, Campanella, Robinson,
Reese and Robinson.
Pee Wee Reese.
Pee Wee Reese is in. Robinson is in. Snyder is in. I don't think Hodges is in.
Hodges is not in. Furillo was good. I mean, basically, Furillo had a great arm. I mean, they used
he was a good hitter too. He batted third.
I don't think. I'm not sure if he ever batted third, but that we'll have to look it up.
Right, he's not third. He
I remember going. I went to
Cox. It was Billy Cox.
Yeah, third base.
Off.
But he was a
Pee Wee Reese batted second.
Pee Wee Reese, I think, was second.
Reese, Cox.
I think Snyder was third, or
Robinson, Snyder, Hodges, Furillo, whoever played left field, Campanella, and the pitcher.
Either Shotgun Schuber
or Gene Hermansky or whoever it was.
I remember Gene Schuber.
George Schubert.
George Schubert or Gene Schuber? Okay, if anybody's out there. Oh, by the way, if any of our listeners want to join our conversation or be part of the show, you can contact me at Gmail. It's malcolmdigitalradio@gmail.
What was Schuber's nickname?
What?
What was George Schuber's nickname?
Shotgun.
Right. Now you got it. Now you're there. He played left field. He played left field a lot. And
before Sandy Amoros. Amoros made that great catch from Yogi Berra.
Amoros too. Yes.
In 1955.
Amoros, he saved the World Series. He caught Yogi. If he was a righty, the fact that his hand,
he's a lefty.
The glove was on his right hand. Okay?
Right.
And he was able to stretch.
I picture that catch as he's running.
He was able to catch it running across. If he had his glove here, he wouldn't have been able to
Right.
make that. Plus, he was very fast. He was a very fast man, and that was, and Yogi Berra would talk about that catch. He said that was
Mm.
like, he thought that was a double. Yogi
But,
said,
but, but I think as we're getting older and we start seeing the icons of our youth dying,
yeah,
not at a young age, like the Tom Seaver, who's our
Tom
contemporary.
75.
75 is our contemporary. Uh,
Yeah,
and people, that ilk passing away that we knew from history.
sure.
And so it starts making you feel old, or it's making me feel old.
I
So
feel
many
like
people well, to me, historic importance passing away.
I feel like I dodge a bullet every day. I
Well,
really do.
I mean, again, I try to think of the philosophy: we never know when we go. I mean, look at Bosman.
And you don't know that you're gone.
Right, right. Well, that's a frightening thing. The frightening thing is I can see going to another existence, going to, heaven, hell, something, but to have nothing. I cannot contemplate
You won't.
nothing. No, no,
You won't have nothing. You won't know.
right.
You're not going to say, "Oh, here I have
I
nothing."
have
You'll
nothing.
be gone. You just whoop.
But there's
That's
no
it.
mind, no me.
You just wonder what. Those are the questions. What's the meaning of life? Those prompt those questions. You do the best you can. You raise children. You give the world a gift here and there by your children, and you hope you live your life, and that they learn from whatever you gave them.
Right. Well, you hope there's a world. You hope there's a world for our children the way things are going.
Well, there might not be a United States of America.
And there might
I
not be a
know.
world.
Well, there'll be a world because the wealthy people don't want to end the world. They just want to end everybody else.
Well, they may not have a choice. I mean, they're saying
About global warming.
the global
No,
the global warming, the
warming.
pandemics.
Global warming the earth won't die. The earth can be very patient. It could take 1,000 years to fix itself. It doesn't give a shit.
Or a million years.
Right, it doesn't matter. But life on earth will become very, very constrained, and it'll get back to, like, there'll be 36 people in Wyoming.
Mhm.
Well, there are 36 people in Wyoming, but I'll pick another state. But the bottom line is, the world will fix itself until it's hit by an asteroid. The world, until there's some outside event, whether it's a gamma ray or a meteor or a bunch of meteors or an asteroid.
Or a hydrogen bomb that destroys
Well,
us.
I don't point in nations who have hydrogen bombs shooting a hydrogen bomb to another nation. Don't they know the response will be automatic? That the bombs will be launched against them, and all you will have is worldwide devastation.
When you have.
And the people who exist now will have to suffer through that. So I don't know why anybody who's accumulated wealth would even contemplate that.
Except if his name is Donald J. Trump.
Well, Trump wants power. I think money is important to him because it brings power. Money gave him power. He's power hungry. Look what he's doing. He's literally killing 1,000 people a day. This is all on his ass. 1,000 people a day plus are dying because of him. No one else.
Well, as we're talking, like he's running like he's not the incumbent. He's been in presidents for 3.5 years. This is his America.
He made it clear, saying, "What America are you talking about? We're living in your America now, you fucking dickhead." Really. I mean, it's going to be bad if Joe Biden. What is this? Wonderful now?
Yeah, he's still running as an outsider.
What?
He's still running as an outsider.
Well, but he's the president. You can't run as an outsider if you're the president. I mean, you're in charge. This is everything that's happening is your fucking responsibility. Even though he doesn't physically take responsibility, he's responsible. That's his job. You know, everyone knows. Uh,
Anyway, I think we've about had it with him.
you can't talk about him. He's just,
Anyway, are you doing anything special this weekend?
no, fuck no. I mean, and today I redid my whole. I had a little sink in the kitchen that was leaking. I had to change the off-ons in the wall because I couldn't turn off the water for the sink without turning off the water for the whole house. And so I fixed those, and then I put in new washers for in the sink. You know, here, wait.
If you're not doing anything, you think you can come over my house?
Who called me? I don't know. Let's see. Wait. Wait. I'm going to show you something.
You think you could do some handiwork over my house?
Here's my faucet. I don't know.
I can't see it.
It's too bright. Oh,
Not a good picture.
no, it's too bright. Wait, I wish I could make it duller.
But anyway, being a product of New York when I lived in Manhattan, Labor Day was like the last weekend in Fire Island.
Yeah.
And that was, yeah,
I never went-
everybody, I used to share a house with a group of people for the last 5 summers I lived in New York.
Cool. No,
And then this was it. And
I
then,
had
of
a-
course, then that school
You live in
started.
Fire Island.
Winter-
Fire Island.
Yeah, winter started, and of course the Jewish holidays.
Yes, well.
That's
Yes,
that's why I always thought the Jewish New Year was right, because it was the end of the summer. People went back to work, back to school. It got cold, and it was a new year.
Yeah, but the calendar was a Roman calendar that we have now.
I mean, why is there a new year? Why is there a new year in January? What changed?
It's Roman. I don't know what. Well, first of all, they weren't even counting it in the beginning. They weren't counting months and years. They just lived day to day, sunrise to sunrise. You know, there was no months or days or weeks. There was no, you know. I mean, on the first day, they didn't call it Monday. You know, on the first day, God created the earth. You know, wasn't Monday?
And that was Monday. On the 7th day he rested. That was Sunday.
Well, actually, it should have been Sunday, and then because it was Saturday is Shabbat.
Right. Well, that's
So
because that's sort of the
And actually, the first monotheistic religion was Jewish,
Judaism, yeah.
Catholic. So we go by the Catholic calendar, the Roman calendar, which is January.
Well, Abraham is the father of the 3 major religions:
That's right.
the Judaism, Catholicism, and Christianity and Muslim.
Yeah, and Abraham himself didn't have a religion. He just listened to God. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
There were no rules. There was no Bible. He made it up as he went along.
What's funny is I remember years ago when I was reading my kids' history book, and there was something called BCE. And what the hell is BCE?
Before the Common Era.
Before Common Era. Because it became politically correct. It can't be before DC, before Christ and after Christ.
Yeah, but you know what? During that time, they weren't counting. Why do I know that? Because how did they know where to start? Because it went backwards.
They went backwards.
Right. So how did they know we're going to start at year 100 and then go down to 0 and then we're going to start over again? No, they had no idea. They didn't know. There was no BCE during the BCE.
No.
There was no calendars. There was no nothing. They didn't do that until they started with January. It's AD is after death.
After death.
Right. It was supposed to be after Christ died. That was the beginning of the when it started year zero.
I forget what that stands for in Latin. AD.
Anno Domini.
Oh, okay. After. Anyway, I think we've
Actually,
reached the end of our show. I think we might be boring people.
it's actually before Christ. I mean, they said yes, we're
We'll,
done.
we'll,
Okay,
we'll invite Bill Maher for our next show, and he'll talk about religion.
we should invite Samantha Bee too.
Yeah, I want to get your sister on.
Yeah, I haven't. You know, I've been so bundled up with doing things. I've just been busy.
And again, anybody that thinks they would like to be a guest on the show, we can put another little box in there. It's very simple with
Yep.
Zoom. Just contact me at malcolmdigitalradio@gmail.com and see
MalcolmDigitalRadio@gmail.com.
right, and tell your friends also.
Okay.
We should get some of your celebrity friends on and talk about this the rock and roll people.
Now it's hard, you know. I mean, I have a lot of great friends that could really have some talk.
We could have fun aside from politics. We would part politics and part fun. Because I remember when we did the show with Stan, you had some good rock people from the
And I would play songs, you know.
yeah from the
Now,
golden age.
now, it is absolutely essential that people vote and
Definitely.
vote Democratic. I'm sorry, you know, if you're a Republican, there are a lot of Republicans like Steve Schmidt and all of those, and the Republicans that do the liberty thing, and hundreds and hundreds of Republicans who worked for the different Republican presidents are all saying vote for Biden because Trump is a
Right.
disaster and a danger to our democracy. So
Well,
vote, VV, vote, and vote early and once.
the Lincoln Project. Anyway,
Thanks.
remember Tuesday
Okay.
of next week. Have a good Labor Day.
Happy weekend.
You too. Bye.